Have you ever stopped to think about how history often paints certain people as sinners, so they're never remembered any other way? Yes, Mary Magdalene carried this burden for centuries. A woman judged, excluded, erased from history for a dark past. But what if I told you that this narrative is not only unfair, but wrong? That she wasn't just a repentant sinner, but the first living witness to the greatest victory of the Christian faith? What few dare to say is that Jesus chose her for a revolutionary role, and this changes everything you think about forgiveness, grace, and purpose. Prepare to discover a powerful truth that will challenge you and, who knows, transform the way you see your own life. Because when the love of Christ reaches someone, even the impossible becomes history. Imagine carrying a label your entire life, being known not for what you believe, but for what they say you were. It was like that for Mary Magdalene. 7 demons. They weren't just spiritual torments, but also a symbol of the weight she carried on her shoulders. The constant judgment, the razor-sharp stares, and the whispers that followed her around every corner. In a society that limited women to roles and appearances, she simply didn't fit in, and so she was discarded. But what most saw as a lost cause, God saw as an opportunity for revelation. It was in this scene of pain and silence that the unthinkable happened. Jesus passed through Magdala, but he didn't see what others saw. He didn't see the label, he saw the soul. A single look from him broke through layers of fear, shame, and guilt. You know that moment when you feel like someone truly saw you beyond appearances? That's what happened to her. That woman destroyed within, invisible to the world, felt, for the first time, seen with love. What had once been a fragmented soul now faced a new chance, a possibility of reconstruction. This encounter wasn't just with a man. It was with love in the form of a person. And he didn't say much. He just looked. And sometimes it's like that. A look can be more powerful than 1,000 speeches. It was there that Mary began to understand that maybe, just maybe, her past didn't have the final word. And when this idea begins to blossom, something inside us awakens. It's like lighting a candle in a dark room. It's not yet day, but it's no longer night. And believe me, what came after that was no small feat. After that encounter, Mary wasn't just healed, she was awakened. Something inside her turned inside out, making everything take on new meaning. The woman who had once wandered aimlessly now walked with purpose. She didn't stand still, telling her story of pain like someone with a cherished scar. She stood up and began following the one who had changed everything. And this, for the time, was almost a scandal. A woman among male disciples? Yeah, but Mary didn't ask permission to exist. She simply lived the truth she had experienced. Every step she took with Jesus was a break with the past and a confirmation of the present. Mary was now a disciple, not a curious spectator. She was there behind the scenes of the miracles, in the crowds that crowded to hear the Master on the days on the road and the silent nights. What for many was merely a conceptual faith, for her was lived experience, pure experience. It's like listening to someone talk about the sea and then diving into it. There's no comparison. Mary's faith didn't come from what people said about Jesus, but from what he had done in her, and that changes everything. And you know what's most striking? She didn't need a shout to prove who she was. She wasn't constantly trying to convince others of her transformation. Mary knew that when grace truly reaches you, your life screams for itself. She became a living testament. And look, maybe you felt this too, when the whole world wants to label you for who you were, but your journey reveals who you become. And when you experience this, there's no turning back. But Mary still had much to discover, because the winds would change and her faith would be tested like never before. When the darkest hour arrived, Mary did not flee. She stood there, steadfast, standing before the cross. While many hid in fear, she remained. It was as if she were saying, with her mere presence, I will not abandon you. There, faced with the horror, the pain, the blood flowing from the one she loved most, Mary did not look away. You know that kind of loyalty that needs no stage or audience. This was it. She was with Jesus not only in his glory days, but also on the ground of reality, where faith is tested by fire. Even after his death, Mary still did not give up. On Sunday morning, before the city even woke, she went to the tomb. But what was supposed to be a silent visit of mourning became the beginning of a miracle. The stone was rolled away, the body gone. Mary's heart raced. Confusion, despair, pain. It was as if everything were being ripped from her again. And there, in the midst of that garden of silence and tears, she heard it. A voice, a word, his name. Mary. It wasn't a gardener. It was Jesus, alive, resurrected, present. This moment changes everything. Because it wasn't Peter, it wasn't John, nor the priest. It was Mary who saw him first. And that carries weight. It carries meaning. It carries a message. Jesus chose to appear to her, to the one the world wanted to erase, to the one who remained when everyone else left. And when he says Mary, he's also saying that he knows, that he calls, that he reveals himself. Sometimes, all we need is to stop and hear our name spoken in the right voice. But the most impressive thing was yet to come, because Mary would receive a mission no one ever imagined she could carry. Imagine the scene. A woman once forgotten and marginalized, now faced with the impossible, the living Christ. It wasn't a hallucination. It wasn't a dream. It was real. And Jesus not only revealed himself to her, but also entrusted her with a mission that would shake the foundations of the world, to announce to his disciples that he had risen. It was as if heaven were saying, Mary, the most important message in history, is now in your hands. What a turnaround! From demon-possessed to bearer of the good news, the first messenger of eternal life. What no high priest had the honor of seeing was given to her. And if this seems unlikely, it's because we're still accustomed to thinking in human terms. But God doesn't measure like we do. He doesn't choose the strongest, the most perfect, or the most influential. He chooses those available. Mary wasn't the most suitable by the standards of time, and perhaps not even by ours. But she was there. A willing heart, a watchful eye, a living faith. It was this willingness that made her fit. And you know what? This logic continues. Those who are available, even without titles, even without structure, are the ones who receive the greatest missions. It was so for her. It can be so for you too. The echo of those words, "Go and tell my brothers," still resonates through the centuries. Mary didn't hesitate. She ran. She literally ran to announce what she saw, and her voice, previously silenced by society, now became a trumpet of hope. She cried out to the world, "I have seen the Lord," not with arrogance, but with truth. And that's how history changed. But there's still something in that call that provokes us, because what Mary experienced there wasn't just a privilege. It was an invitation, and the response to that invitation can still echo in the hearts of those who feel they carry a stained history, and believe it prevents them from experiencing something new. Mary Magdalene isn't just a story of overcoming obstacles. She's living proof that grace knows no prejudice. God doesn't wait for an impeccable resume to begin working. He just needs someone to say yes, even if that yes comes amid tears, fear, and doubt. Mary's past was heavy, public, and humiliating, but grace was stronger, and that changes everything. It shows that no matter how broken someone is, if their heart still beats, there's still time. It's like taking a cracked vase and, instead of hiding the cracks, filling them with gold. As in Japanese kintsugi, what was once a flaw becomes art. And the truth is, if you feel you have too many flaws to be chosen by God, perhaps you're exactly who he's looking for. Because he doesn't want performance. He wants presence. And Mary Magdalene understood this. She stopped being defined by the mistakes she made and began to be remembered for the mission she received. This makes us reflect on how much we still listen to the wrong voices. Voices that say it's too late, that nothing will change. But if the resurrected Christ called Mary by name, what's stopping him from calling you too? The problem was never that grace was distant. It's that we sometimes stop listening. Mary teaches us that being restored isn't just about receiving forgiveness. It's about being repositioned. It's about understanding that pain can become ministry, that failure can become testimony. And she wasn't a supporting character in the gospel. She was a protagonist in humanity's most important proclamation. That's not to be underestimated. And perhaps that's precisely what's missing in our lives. To stop seeing ourselves as supporting characters and begin to understand that God can place us at the center of a mission. But are we ready to hear our name being called? Because that's when everything changes. And the next scene in this story could very well begin with you. We have reached the end of this journey through the life of Mary Magdalene, a woman who teaches us that true transformation is possible for anyone, including you, watching me now. Are you willing to leave the past behind and embrace God's mission for your life? Have you ever stopped to consider that your greatest challenge could also be your greatest calling? What stories of pain can be reinterpreted as stories of victory? I want you to reflect. What name is God calling you within your heart today? Are you ready to answer? If so, how about starting right now? Act it with faith and courage. And to not miss any chapter of this transformation, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Here, you will learn how love and grace can rewrite your story, just as they did for Mary Magdalene. Shall we join you on this journey?